Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with If I Could Choose Only One Work by composer X. It would have to be work B. I don't think I've ever done a B. Anyway, this is a B. The composer is Joaquin Turina. Oh, yeah, we love Joaquin Turina, don't we? The composer of Danzas Fantásticas and the Sinfonia Sevillana and all these gorgeous, sunny Spanish pieces. They're so beautiful. But the work in question, work B, which doesn't get any play or attention, and it's a stunner, is Canto a Sevilla, Song of Seville. And I have to say, I don't usually recommend specific recordings in this series because I think the point is to talk about the work rather than specific performances. But in this case, I'm telling you, this is the one to get. There it is, featuring Maria Espada, soprano, and the BBC Philharmonic under Juanjo Mena on chandos, because the recorded history of this piece is really spotty. There was a wonderful historical recording featuring Victoria de Los Angeles on EMI, and it was in some box of stuff with her, but God knows where it is now. We don't need to worry about it. Then there were a couple modern ones. One was on, I believe, Arte Nova, and the other was more recently, was on Hensler. Neither was ideal, and this one, thank God, came along, and it's gorgeous. It's so beautiful. It's such an exquisite performance. But what is it? What is Canto a Sevilla, and why is it so, not known, which just astonishes me. I mean, it's such a vehicle. It's a real meaty second half of the concert extravaganza. It's extraordinary. My phone just dinged. I'll deal with that later. It just dinged again. I'll deal with it again later. Anyway, here's the point. This is what it is. It is the Spanish Das Lied von der Erde, sort of, kind of. It's a combination song cycle, tone poem, symphonic extravaganza in 7 movements with 4 vocal movements and 3 instrumental movements. I'm just going to make sure I have that right. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm right, but I want to make sure I get what the deal is. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 7. Yes, here they are, of course. And the way it works is you have an orchestral introduction, 2 soprano song things, and then another middle thing called Noche de Feria. Yes, the night of festivities, festival. And then 2 more soprano numbers, and then an ofrenda, a finale, which is just glorious. And it ends with a bang. I mean, it's really extraordinary. People do not know Turina's orchestral music very much. I mean, he wrote mostly piano works. The history of sort of Spanish orchestral music in the 20th century is spotty. Spain was culturally heavily influenced by Italian music, Italian opera. Their orchestral language was theatrical music. It was zarzuela, and it was opera, and it was all of that stuff. And of course, the virtuoso tradition of Liszt and, Paganini and those people. So there were orchestral virtuosi and pianists, Albéniz and Granados and people like that. So, the idea of Spanish orchestral music only really got going much later in the 20th century than a lot of places. Turina wrote, like I said, mostly suites, suites of character pieces for piano, but he orchestrated a lot of them. There's a good bit, 4 or 5 discs of orchestral music when you put it all together. And it is so beautiful. I mean, the music is just sunny and beautiful and lyrical and warm and wonderful. And for that reason, it is roundly underrated and chronically underestimated. And the Canto a Sevilla is a masterpiece. The reason we don't hear it as often as we should, and this is so freaking bizarre, believe it or not, is because you can't get the complete piece in one score. Maybe someday they'll put it together. I mean, music publishing is even more demented than the record industry. But for reasons that somebody must know, the orchestral pieces were published separately, and the vocal pieces were in a separate thing. And so in order to put it together and do the whole thing correctly, it's quite expensive and quite awkward and difficult to find. And there are Spanish music publishers who are, they're kind of, creaky and, living in the last century, a lot of them. And, the scores haven't been updated or cleaned up. I mean, we need a serious critical edition of the complete work. That's what we need. Is it ever going to happen? God only knows. But it is a pain. It's difficult and awkward to perform for that reason. And it's really a pity because it's, in so many ways, it's Turina's masterpiece. I mean, it's his largest symphonic work. It's exquisite, like all of his symphonic music, gorgeously scored. And even on disc, like I said, it's only 5 recordings, and only this one and De Los Angeles, however you want to pronounce her, is really great. I mean, are really great. These are the only 2. So there you go. Go for it. And let me tell you, the evil god Cancresans, who wants to destroy every piece of music but for one work per composer, Turina is one of those guys who's waiting to be discovered. I mean, first of all, the piano music is gorgeous too, and there's a ton of it. But all of these orchestral versions and things, I mean, his legacy is in turmoil, and it needs to be straightened out and cleaned up and organized so that we can all hear it and evaluate it for ourselves. So keep that in mind, really, and keep on listening. Thanks for joining me. Take care.